coming down that curving backstretch.
Bob, you were talking about that Firestone development. More than 40 different constructions, compounds were tested in all that work that Marty mentioned with all the water that was dumped at Firebird Raceway in Phoenix. Al Spire told us yesterday, a year ago when we were embarrassed in Detroit, after the rain session, I had every Firestone driver at the trailer demanding an explanation. Yesterday when we practiced in the rain, I didn't hear from one driver. I think we've stepped up.
I would say so. There you see Michael Andretti, the only driver in the running for the MCI Million, a new program this year from MCI that will award a $1 million bonus to the driver who wins 4 selected events, one on each of the 4 types of circuits that make up the PPG Kart World Series. Michael, of course, won at Homestead on the short oval. If he can win here at Portland on a natural terrain road course, and Vancouver, Canada later this season on a temporary circuit, and at the season finale on the big super speedway, the California Speedway in Fontana, he will pick up $1 million, nearly $250,000 of which will go to his favorite charity. If he doesn't win today, some other driver wins, both he and Andretti will be in the running for a $100,000 MCI bonus if they can win 3 of those 4 races.
Well, and I'm watching him on camera here, and his back end is very twitchy. It jumps out right when he turns in. It's starting to rain harder here at this part of the circuit where we're over here at pit out. There's a Valvoline car, dark blue and red, and right behind it, the light blue. That car right there on your camera was Greg Moore. The first one was Gilles de Ferran.
What a roll Greg Moore has been on. Picked up his first victory, making him the youngest winner in PPG Kart World Series history. That was at Milwaukee. Won again at Detroit in the most dramatic way when Mark Blundell and Mauricio Gugelmin both ran out of fuel on the last lap. If he were to win today, he would be 1 day older than the previous record holder, Al Unser Jr. This is the view from our Honda Helicam. Amazing the visibility is so good from up here. The cloud layer is very low. You can see just how carefully the drivers have to be. Moore clipped that orange cone. That driver by driver is making its way around the track.
See that puddle there where they hit the puddles down on the curbing? Sometimes the curbing will hold water in there. And you see guys there took a different line. He went out there wide. Sometimes there is more grip offline than there is online because everybody in the drive drives the natural line, and that puts down a lot of oil and gas and makes the track slippery when water gets on it.
That's 9th, de Ferran, and 10th, Raul Boesel just behind them. Excuse me, Greg Moore in 10th. Raul Boesel is behind them in 11th. Mauricio Gugelmin is leading. He's led 3 of the last 5 races on tour. We'll be back live in a moment. Back live, we are under a full course caution here at Portland International Raceway to pick up that errant traffic cone that was making its way around the track. Coming up next Saturday on ESPN, great NASCAR Modified Series action. The Watkins Glen 150. Tony Hirschman is the defending Modified Series champion. If you've never seen the NASCAR Modifieds in action, I'm telling you, tune in to Watkins Glen 150 next Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific on ESPN. Pit action beginning. That's Brian Herta. New set of treaded wets going on. Herta running well back in the field. Down to Gary Gerould.
Well, you know, you talked about Christian Fittipaldi coming back. His father, Wilson, has made the long trip from Brazil and is here underneath an umbrella watching very closely as the rain continues to come down harder. They had to make some adjustments for Christian in the cockpit. They moved the brake pedal over to the left. They moved the throttle pedal a little further down or deeper into the cockpit, so that he has to extend for it. He has a full brace on his lower right leg that runs from his knee down to his ankle to give him protection in the case of any kind of impact. Dramatic changes, and Christian Fittipaldi, who started third, currently running sixth, has learned to brake with his left foot. That's totally uncharacteristic to his past, but he made the change in a test 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. It's remarkable, in my mind, the job that he's doing in these conditions.
No question about it, Gary. As you see, the rain is picking up once again here at Portland, but the race goes on. We'll be back with more in a moment. Stand by. Back at Portland, the rain now pouring down as we get set to go green. Quickly down to Marty Reed.
What's really interesting with our spotter communications down here, the guys that are in the back of the pack are complaining like crazy about the weather conditions. They'd like to see this thing stop for a while because it's so wet they can't see. But the guys that are running up front, surprisingly, they're not complaining at all.
No surprise there as Mauricio Gugelmin leads the field off the corner. Juan Fangio is back out on the racetrack after an extended pit stop. You see him, well, you don't see him very well, but he's in there. And he is 3 laps down. Jimmy Vasser challenged by
Michael Andretti, I think.
Michael Andretti went by. There's Alex Zanardi. Mario Franchitti, or as Scott Pruitt calls him, Franchetti.
See, they're still battling side by side.
See the rain light on the car ahead. Useful some of the time, but when the spray gets this thick, it's hard to spot that rain light.
Well, Bob, you have to get in. The light is on permanently, but you have to get very close to the car to see it when the spray is that bad. It's a very bright light, but it really helps you only when you're up close. See how gingerly they're on the throttle, just trying to squeeze it on there. Whoa!
Patrick Carpentier goes around.
Keep going, Patrick.
He has been very unhappy with the balance of this car all weekend. He seems to have found his groove on the oval tracks. But here on the road course, where you might think he would be very comfortable, the Alumax Bettenhausen Motorsports team has been struggling to get a balance in the race car. He still leads the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year standings by 21 points over Dario Franchitti. Scott Pruitt, Franchitti, and Alex Zanardi running 2, 3, and 4. Behind them, Mark Blundell, who started 11th, is up to 5th. And Zanardi flashes by. Now here's a guy with his Formula One experience, many years of racing in Europe, who should be very good under the conditions.
Bob, what happened there is he put the power down better than Franchitti did coming out of on that concrete at the chicane, and he just accelerated right up the inside of him when they come onto that little short straightaway.
Word from the officials is that Juan Fangio will be in and penalized for a blend line violation, entering or exiting the pits. Let's look there at Alex Zanardi. He and his teammate Jimmy Vasser and Al Lester Jr. flew out of Portland last night to engage in a round of the International Race of Champions. California Speedway down in Fontana. They were back last night. And no, I'm not going to tell you how they did. You're going to have to wait and find out.
Bob, just to explain to everybody what that blend line is there's a line coming into the pits and going out of the pits that they can't pass somebody else on the track or the pace car. I don't know what the violation was, but I saw that Fangio, when he came out, was just ahead of the pace car.
Now notice not only how thick that spray is, but how it hangs in the air. We have very little breeze blowing here at Portland today, so nothing to help that spray dissipate. Umur right up behind Fittipaldi, edges to the inside in the festival curves. That was close.
He did a very professional job, though, there. You could have clipped him and spun Christian right around.
Christian Fittipaldi, 75 days away from the sport, not even in the race car. In fact, in a wheelchair for 20 of those days. There is the battle between he and Moore for 8th place.
Remember, Christian Fittipaldi is on Goodyear tires, and Greg Moore is on Firestones.
Fittipaldi was asking for rain, so it made it easier on his driving. Oh, and Moore definitely the quicker car through these turns, looking for a way by. Mercedes looking for its 6th straight victory. No engine builder has done that since 1991. When the Ilmore Chevrolet swept a season, 17 straight victories. Among our other streaks, Canadian drivers, of which there are 3. Greg Moore, Paul Tracy, and Patrick Carpentier looking for their 6th in a row. They're already leading the Nations Cup competition over the American contingent. Out of the spray they come. A replay of the last lap at the first turn in the Festival Corners. Fittipaldi manages to keep Moore behind him. Speaking of Paul Tracy, keep in mind he and Alonso Jr. are also looking for Roger Penske's 100th victory in PPG Cup Championship car competition. Mauricio Gugelmin remains up front. The third race in the last 5 that Big Mo has led. The other 2 being Rio de Janeiro, where he started from pole, and the Detroit Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. His best of the year, a second on a temporary circuit in Long Beach, California. The battle between Fittipaldi and Moore continues. We'll be back live to Portland in a moment. Back at Portland, flagman Jim Swintal has double yellow flags out, a full course caution here at the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. It's summertime and the X Games are back. Athletes competing in 11 events, including aggressive inline, the X Venture race, big air snowboarding, street luge, sport climbing, sky surfing, a whole lot more going on as we speak. Follow the coverage on ESPN and ESPN2 all the way through next Saturday, the 28th. Under that full course caution, Jimmy Vasser coming in. Let's get down to Gary Gerould.
Michael Andretti just rolls away. Derek Walker, I understand you were requesting a delay, a possible red flag.
Yeah, it was our opinion that there was really too much water out there, and it was really unnecessarily dangerously, too slick. So we asked them to do something about it. They, quite rightly so, have called a full course yellow to slow the pack down and let this rain shower drift through, because it's really too dangerous, and it's not a race. It's whoever's going to crash next, really.
Any advice at all to your driver, Gilles de Ferran?
Well, just hang on. That's all you can do in this situation.
Boy, I guess. Derek Walker, they've got the delay, but they're still running under full course yellow conditions, and it is raining hard.
Well, Gary, it is raining hard. I'm not so sure that it's going to get, that much drier, but there is some bright spots a little further off, so they maybe need to stop the rain. But there is no standing water in the corners now. The straightaway on the inside up near close to the pit wall looks like it's got some standing water, but we're seeing some great racing here, and not that many guys have been flying off the track. I think it's just that the Firestone shod cars are, they've done a better job with their rain tire than the Goodyear. And the guys that are on Goodyear tires are having trouble with the track.
Well, here's the good news. The skies appear to be lightening to the southwest. As you can see to the left side of your screen, you can almost distinguish the clouds. That means the rain is letting up, and that's good news. Now, as mentioned early, not only are these drivers fighting for points in the PPG Cup Championship, they're also accumulating points for their home countries toward another kart title, the Nations Cup. For the past 2 years, the United States has captured the Nations Cup, which tallies the points scored by the highest finishing driver from each competing nation. Most recent opposition has come from Brazil and Canada. Thus far this year, the Canadians have led the way, behind Paul Tracy's 3 straight wins at Nazareth, Rio de Janeiro, and St. Louis. And countryman Greg Moore, who captured the 2 most recent rounds in Milwaukee and Detroit. Thus, Canada leads in both total points and victories with 5. Behind the Maple Leafs come the Americans, led by Michael Andretti and his win in the season opener in Homestead, Florida, and Scott Pruitt's victory on the streets of Surfers Paradise, Australia. The U.S. sits in a close second in points despite just 2 victories. Here are the complete Nations Cup standings. All 9 countries with a driver in the PPG Kart World Series have scored, and it's worth noting that although England, Scotland, Argentina, and Germany are each represented by a single driver, Canada has just 3. And we should also point out there are 9 Americans and 6 Brazilians battling over the Nations Cup. Title that will probably go down to the very last race of the year, the California Speedway in Fontana. While the rain continues to fall and the yellow remains out, we'll be back in a moment to Portland. Back live once again at Portland International Raceway. The rain is lightening slightly, but we remain under a full course caution. Let's go down to Gary Gerould.
The man under the red and white umbrella, Al Spire, director of racing for Firestone. Al, we chronicled the story of a year ago at Detroit and how all the drivers came to you concerned about the performance of the Firestone. We chronicled how you tested 40 different combinations at Firebird. It looks like it's paying off.
Oh, it's really paid off. You know, this whole racing game is about developing new technology, and certainly today the Firestone rain tires are doing a great job up here. I know some of the other drivers are complaining about the track being slippery and all, but the Firestone guys running up front are putting on a great show. They're doing great racing, and it's a great vindication for our rain tires today.
Well, a lot of hard work has gone into the moment. Now, I know you're still concerned. You got a long way of a race yet to go.
Well, sure, there's a lot of racing yet to do, and a lot of things can happen, but I really feel happy for our engineers.